see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Part 3, The Secret of Dumbledore. I did... this is a long one, I have 3 of these. Sorry. I'm going to go really fast because there's a lot and not the best. I usually, when I go to see one of those, the part 3s of a series I'm interested in, I rewatch the first 2, and I did with this, but this has not been a series that's been very lucky or very good, or so I had to stop rewatching the first one because, yeah. And the second one I did watch, so I had enough information to know what to know for this one. So the expectations for this one were not high. It's not... the second one was bad, so I expected this, and I was hoping it would be better than bad, but I expected bad or worse. So when I got there, basically clean slate with very low bar. Then the first scene happened, and I was feeling better. The first scene is the thing is called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This whole series has not been about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Sorry, it's just not. And it's devolved over the last movie into a story of Grindelwald and Dumbledore, and any Harry Potter fan knows that these people had a war way back then, and this is that war. So basically this film, it should have been called The Great Wizarding War, or the War of the Dumbledore versus Grindelwald, or something like that. But we are not here for the beasts. They're just not here. Some are in here because it's good for the merch, and basically they should have restarted this because the 2 previous ones were so bad. But I understand that they couldn't. It is an ongoing series, and on paper this series is successful. It makes a lot of money. It sells a heck of a lot of merch. But that's not for the quality of the movies. It really isn't. So when I saw this opening scene, I was going, oh my god, this is an actual scene. We actually have dialogue. We have some plots. We have some interesting things. And I mean, these are things that one would expect for a movie. So I'm sitting here being, oh, I'm happy. This is an actual scene. There's information. There's exposition without being a dump. With conversation. Plots. And the added bonus for the first scene is, and I think that's why they put it, is smack dab in the first scene, the subtext isn't subtext. Dumbledore was in love with Grindelwald, and he says so. Interesting thing, secondary after that, is that Grindelwald doesn't say anything on that subject. He doesn't acknowledge it, he doesn't answer it, he doesn't tell his own feelings. So I think that them adding this, with the history of it being not really canon, but J.K. said it, that he is gay, and lots of implications, is that I think what they're trying to do is feel out if this is a viable plot line. So they make Dumbledore say it, because it is canon, close enough. But Grindelwald doesn't answer, so we don't know if it's in any way mutual, or if Dumbledore actually expected it to be mutual. At the moment it doesn't seem so. Yes, Dumbledore was in love with Grindelwald, but Grindelwald had no answering move for that. They made a pact, which was featured in the previous movie, and from that is the start of this story, which is definitely Dumbledore versus Grindelwald, and not Fantastic Beasts. Fantastic Beasts are going to be incidental. And they are. Their decision to go with the previous movie also meant that they had to go take in whatever good things about previous movies, but also the bad things that they had to continue. And I made a list. This is why I have much paper, because I had to make lists, because it's such a mess that I simply can't remember everything. People that they have to take over from previous movies are, of course, Newt Scamander, who is the POV character of the first movie, and his brother, he was a character from the second movie. He was only introduced in the second movie. Credence sort of was written in the previous things to be worked up to be the big bad with a sad background, so good at heart but turned bad because blah kind of character. They had to carry him over because the plot line from the previous one was completely that way, and that's where we're going. They brought in Queenie, who was a character from the first and second movie, who was another one of those person who is good but then goes with Grindelwald. Why? Not good enough characterization in the previous movies to do something with that. Good character was also from the second movie was Newt's assistant, who was completely wasted in that movie. They simply introduced her and did nothing with her. They used her here in this movie. Probably should say what they did. With Queenie, who joined Grindelwald, they wrapped up the storyline and made her be under duress and then rescued her. Great. Corvus, whole thing just fizzled out. There was nothing there to... sorry, not Corvus. Credence. I had them written down here wrong, so sorry. Credence, it just fizzled out. There was nothing there to say for a tortured bad guy who was really good at heart kind of thing. We've seen it. It's not... No. The good use, they make good use of Bunty, of the assistant character. She is pivotal to the plot without being intrusive, without changing her around and making her not be what she is, and all these kind of things. But making her look good. Yeah, that's a good choice. They reused a character from the second movie who is Yusuf Kama. I think basically because they wanted to get as many from... the choice is either get a new character in or use another character. And this character was basically done in the other movie. I mean, his plot line was done. He wasn't dead at the end, so he was available. So either get a new person in with roughly the same characteristics or get this guy in. And they got this guy in. So that works fine for me. They got in, the McGonagall was in the last one as a cameo because they were at Hogwarts and Dumbledore was there and another teacher was there and happened to be McGonagall. Lots of issues with that iteration of McGonagall because we know she's not that old, so she couldn't have been there. That's beside the point. She was there. They brought her back for this one and now have an issue as a cameo again. And there is also the character of Tina. I'm going to come back to McGonagall. The character of Tina, who was in the first and second movie, big player. She is not in this one. Just she has a cameo, and I thought about this, and I think it probably has something to do with availability of the actress. So they had the part obviously written. And they stuck in a new character, Professor Eulalie, Eulalie Hicks, Lally. And that's nice. And she was a character of color. That's also nice. American character with lots of Brits and an American, and that was nice. But this would have been the point where you could just slot it in McGonagall. Because Lally is teacher of charms, I believe, at the Ilvermore, the American School for Wizarding. And why not just slot in McGonagall? It would have been wonderful to see McGonagall take part. While you have her, you've already misplaced her in time already. Why not make use of it? Why make it another bloody cameo, and even a shorter cameo this time? She just comes and gives Albus a message. That's it. That's her entire cameo. Why waste it on this? I mean, I like it that this new character is a character of color. But it should have been McGonagall. I don't understand. So they were doing really well with the really using of old assets from the previous movies, and then they messed this up. So another really good thing they took over from the previous two movies is the character of Jacob. And Jacob is a Muggle that gets involved in the first one and then gets re-involved in the second one, and he's here again. He is here totally along for the ride. He doesn't. The reason that he's there, I think, is because everybody liked him. I like him. I like him in this. He's fun. He's a bit of comic relief without being a bumbling fool, because he is a Muggle and he sees all these wizardry things. So it is his point of view. When something magical happens, everybody else takes it as normal. He goes, "Ooh, something magical happened," and that makes Jacob interesting. But he doesn't actually have anything significant to do that couldn't be done by any of the other characters. So for that, but you know what? I'll take it. We like Jacob. Team Jacob. Along with characters from the previous movies, they had to take in the plot. So I've already said the Credence story just fizzles out. It's a bad story, it stinks, and they dumped it. So they did. I think they simply went by lists, and I made lists because, they went by lists. I'm going by lists. My list is here. The things that this movie must do that the previous one didn't. Just proper movie setup. Introduction of characters. Reintroduction of previous plot points. Introduction of new plots. Build towards a climax using a mystery to the audience. And a properly executed climax. These things check, and check. So, we're doing better than the previous one. But it is still a movie about a wizarding war where we expect animals. They show magic. They do a proper show don't tell. They do some foreshadowing. There is actually one of the issues with the previous one was the way you tell a story in the middle of your movie. They did it here properly. Dumbledore tells a story about his sister Ariana and his brother, and Grindelwald was also there. Because they were having a lull, they are in his brother's in Aberforth's house, and they tells it to Newt. And this actually works on many levels, because he tells this story to Newt as a conversation, as emotional piece, as character development. But that means that Newt now knows about it. That may be important, possibly not in this movie, but later. The audience is reminded of the story because we already know parts of this from the Harry Potter movies. It's in the seventh number 1 or number 2. I forget. And it shows that this is going to be a part of this storyline, of this greater storyline. So it does all these things in one move, while still giving you a emotional. A still point in the action, but an emotional point for these people involved. That's how you do it. You don't stop the action dead and tell the story. You do it when there's a lull. And then you do it for all these reasons. Because every element in a movie, and this is Movies 101, every element in a movie must be constructive to that movie and the build-up. You don't have time for things that go nowhere. You don't have time for just a scene for, I don't know, mood setting or something. It also has to do mood setting, but it also has to do all these other things. You don't have any bloody time. And this movie actually knows that. It's Film School 101, or 102, but some of the stuff that went wrong is Film School 101. Plot things they did right. I have another list. Previous films pinned themselves down on exact year. This one doesn't. It's roughly 1930s, probably early 30s. It doesn't refer to Muggle history because this is about wizards. It's not Muggle history. Muggle history never was a thing in Harry Potter. It's incidental. Film School 101. You have a German play a German. So he will pronounce the names properly. If you can't get a really good German to play your bad guy, who is also German, get a Dane. A Dane will do it well. Especially if the Dane actually has on his IMDb that he speaks like 5 languages. Thank you, Mads Mikkelsen. Have the place look like the pictures. And they did. Commendation for that. I mean, that's an 8++. Germany of the 1930s looks like Germany of the 1930s. The text on the shops are correct. Queens of the 1930s looks like Queens of the 1930s. All correct. I'm sure there are people who have been studying postcards from that time. Yep, I don't even have to check that. That works. It's got the look. Yep. They know that if they don't have a German or a Dane who speaks all these languages, that you shouldn't bloody speak the language. There's a scene set in Bhutan, which is in Asia somewhere, and a little town with a temple, not a temple, a monastery or some bigger building, and we know that, like everybody else, people have signage. There's not a single sign in this Bhutan. Because this film knows that the Harry Potter fandom is so big that there's going to be 2 people from Bhutan who will say, hey, that sign is wrong, that sign is wrong. And it will go all over the internet. And that is why there are no signs in the Bhutan set. Thank you very much. Then, also, for exposition and drama, let the actors actually get to do their job. Give them time to do their job. Give them some sort of lines they can sort of emote into something realistic. Thank you very much. Drop page. There are some things they couldn't just take some plot points, so they basically just twisted whatever it was around to fit their new narrative, because another thing they did, well, the character of Grindelwald sucks. I mean, on paper, Mads Mikkelsen plays it, he does his best, but this character just sucks. And in the previous film, he has a certain look. They dumped it. Thank you. He now looks normal because basically he is normal. The scariness is in his thoughts and in his beliefs, not in his looks. He doesn't have to look scary to be scary. He's scary without his looks because of what comes out of his mouth. So, wise move. Also saves you on lots of makeup for Mads, and I'm sure he's happy about that. I have the why is this movie not good category now. Oh my god. This movie has to fix so much manure from the previous movie that they can't do it. They can scrape off some, put some pink spray paint on some other, but it's not gonna help. It's still not what it's supposed to be. It's still not Fantastic Beasts or Where to Find Them. They stuck in beasts everywhere. Like when in the Bhutan set, which is just a political set with a political climax and some running around, they put in these blue chickies, which I'm supposed are magical. And the forest they're in is earlier they have a scene of Newt going into a forest and rescuing a magical deer. Which is the only animal that's actually pivotal to the plot, but not really. It could have been McGillicuddy, a relic would have done. I mean, it happens to be an animal. So, and then there was the crab dance in the middle of the movie. Yeah. Why? That was very Doctor Who, but not its finest moments kind of thing. You know. And the objectivity meter for movies is basically, if you can remember the plot well, it was a good plot. If you can't remember the plot, it was not a good plot. And like I said, I had to make paper for this. Lots of paper. It had its okay moments. The looks are great. The acting is good. The love confession of Dumbledore is nice. Nice bonus. The crab dance sucked. The 5-card Monty was good. You have to see the movie if you're going to get that one. The movie's okay, which is an upward trend. It's a nice collection of scenes, well executed. But I'm giving compliments here for things that should have been standard. I mean, really, it's serviceable to keep the franchise going. Yeah. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. See you with the 4th film. It makes a lot of money, so we'll probably see a 4th film. We'll be here for the 4th film, definitely.